Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack, and today we're taking a look at every single LEGO Anakin minifigure ever made. We've got 6 of the young ones, and we've got 15 of the older ones, which makes 21 in total for our collection. And let's take a look at the little guys first. And our first one here came out in 1999 in the set Naboo Starfighter 7141. And this minifigure is pretty basic. He is all tan with only some very basic printing on the front, and he's got a simple minifigure face with just some eyebrows and freckles. But I do like the brown helmet and goggles that can flip up and down. And for those of you that have any of the recent Child Anakin sets, you'll notice that he doesn't have short legs. They didn't actually start using short legs in LEGO until 2002 when they made Yoda. And the same Anakin was released in 1999 in 3 other sets. The only difference this time though is the color of his helmet. And he came out in the sets Anakin's Pod Racer 7131, Star Wars Bucket 7159, and Mos Espa Pod Race 7171. Definitely the more common version of the original Anakin. Our next child Anakin came out in 2007 in the set Naboo N1 Starfighter 7660. The printing design for the torso piece is the same, though it looks a little bit cleaner and there's some tan printed towards the top instead of yellow. He has a flesh colored face now, and the printing for the face is almost the same, but the black dots for the eyes are much bigger. And he also has this headpiece that shows ruffled hair. In 2011, we get our next update. He came out in Naboo Fighter 7877. The front printing has been updated, and there is printing on the back as well. And this time the belt buckle is shiny, and you can see detailing for a necklace. We also have an updated face. He's got one eyebrow raised, and those eyebrows match the color of his hair. And this time he comes with 2 headpieces. One is his ruffled hair, and the other one is his helmet. LEGO designed another child Anakin in 2011, and he is nearly identical, but he has this much better looking updated helmet. The printing for it is pretty good, and they also updated his face. On one side you can see the print for the goggles on his face, and he looks a bit concerned, but he didn't come with a second headpiece this time, just the helmet or no hair. And then 2015 came around and we got our final form of Anakin. He came out in the set Sith Infiltrator 75096, and the only thing that is updated here is a little bit more detailing on the chest and back. This time he has some pouches on his belt, the detailing for his necklace is updated, and there's a tiny bit of negative space on the torso. His facial expressions are updated, one with a small frown, and the other one has a small smile. And technically he was released another time in 2015 in the set Naboo Starfighter 75092, but the only difference here is that he came with a hairpiece and a helmet piece. So that's it for our child Anakins from episode 1. Here they are lined up in order from when they were released, and it's kind of funny to see them get shorter. And here's a close-up of the 3 different printing designs that you got as the years went by. It definitely got better over time, but it still remains pretty simple, and that's just because he wore simple clothes. But now let's check out Anakin in his Padawan years. And the first time this version of him appears in LEGO is in 2002 in the set Tusken Raider Encounter 7113. And this is actually a pretty good original minifig. He's brown with some very good detailing printed onto the torso. The robe detailing is pretty intricate, and he's got a Padawan braid. I'm also pretty happy that this old minifig manages to still have a pretty decent cape. Sometimes these old ones can be pretty torn up. He now has a lightsaber with the chrome handle. He's got a very simple LEGO face with some light brown eyebrows and hair to match. A pretty good looking figure, and they also released him again in 2002, the same guy with just no cape. He came out in the set Bounty Hunter Pursuit 7133, and the only real difference I note is that the hair is slightly more red than the previous Anakin. Not really much of a difference, but anyways, let's move on to 2005. This year we got 3 Anakins, and let's start with my favorite. This guy came out in the set Ultimate Lightsaber Duel, set 7257. Now in 2005, the print detailing for the torso changed, I think for all the Jedis, but it looks a bit simpler, and I think I prefer the original print design. This year they also decided to use this hairpiece, and it never looked very good or accurate. I know in the case of Luke Skywalker, at least they actually switched the hairpiece back to the original after they used this one. But let's not get sidetracked, this guy has a light-up saber. The head and legs cannot be detached from this minifig, and when you push down on the head, it acts as an on switch and turns on the saber. And as you might have guessed, this is a pretty unique minifig, a little bit old, and somewhat of a collector fig. Getting a decent version of him on BrickLink, you'll probably have to pay 20 or 25 bucks for him. And one interesting thing to note about these light-up guys is the heads feel very loose, and they can spin around. Okay, moving on to our second Anakin of 2005. He came out in 2 sets, Jedi Starfighter 7256 and Ultimate Space Battle 7283. Everything about him is identical to the previous light-up guy, except he has no black cape, and there is a small golden headset printing on his face. I didn't mention it before, but he has a black hand, and this is the last Anakin you'll see with a chrome lightsaber handle. Let's finish off 2005 with this guy. He's Anakin from the Darth Vader Transformation set 7251. So this is right after his battle on Mustafar. His hair was burned off, so he has no hairpiece, and they added some pretty basic bloody detailing to the face. face. It's kind of funny that he has no eyebrows. He looks really shocked. But let's move on up to 2008. And we get our first Clone Wars Anakin, and this guy is really common. He first appeared in Anakin's Jedi Starfighter set 7669, but ended up coming out in 6 other sets, as well as a Comic-Con display set. The torso piece shows some robe detailing, similar to that of the show, and of course the printing on the face looks much different to match the show as well. I'd say hands down the biggest improvement though is the hairpiece. It looks a lot better, it matches up with his character much more. A very solid minifig, but let's move on up to 2010, and in this year we got 2 very unique Anakins. And the first one here is Anakin in a parka. This figure is based on the Trespass episode in the Clone Wars show, and he's on that planet Orto Plutonia, or as they call it, Freako, because it's freezing cold. He came out in the set Freako Speeder, set 8085, and it's not a bad looking minifig. The parka headpiece is custom, and they did a good job printing on the furry bits and the symbol on the chest piece. The minifig itself has some good printing on the torso, and he comes with 2 expressions. One is a pretty grim looking Anakin face, and the other one shows detailing for goggles and a face mask. And the lightsaber hilts from now on will all be metallic. And the second minifig here from 2010 is I think one of the strangest Star Wars minifigs ever made. And that's because it's a scene or turn of events that didn't quite happen the way it did in the movie. He came out in the set Emperor Palpatine's Shuttle 1096, and this is their trip from Mustafar after he loses the battle against Obi-Wan, when they're on their way to the medical center where he becomes the Darth Vader that we all know. So we've got pretty good detailing on the front and back of the torso that shows some burns and ruffled robes and belt. The detailing on the face is also pretty good. He looks like he's in a bit of pain. The wounds on his face actually look pretty similar to the first ones that we saw from 2005. The designers did change it up a little bit, but not that much. But here's the strange part. Anakin has a red lightsaber, which he only got after he fully became Darth Vader in the suit, and he also comes with a Darth Vader helmet, which in the movies is I think the very last thing they put on him after they've already reconstructed his body and he has the suit on. So this minifigure represents a moment in the Star Wars universe that never actually happened, at least not this way. But anyways, he's a pretty uncommon figure, and to get him in good use condition, he'd be about 15 bucks or more on BrickLink. The next year we get 2 Anakins, both based on the Clone Wars show, and the first one here is kind of funny. He came in a Nintendo DS play and build kit, and he looks pretty much identical to the first Clone Wars Anakin, except this time he has brown eyes instead of blue, and there's no scar on his face. Also, another interesting thing to note about this guy is that he didn't come with a lightsaber, but instead just a trans blue rod, but with no hilt. Moving on to our second Clone Wars Anakin, we are back to the original face printing, but this time we have a completely updated and original torso printing, both on the front and back. There's more detailing on the belt, and the folds in his robes are a bit different too. He's the only minifig with this torso design, which makes him a little bit unique. And LEGO is keeping it pretty consistent for a while. In the next consecutive year, we get yet again another 2 new Anakins, and these 2 are some of my favorites. This first guy here is from Palpatine's Arrest, set number 9526, and the detailing for this year is some of the best. The robes are now printed onto the legs, which is good, but the printing design for the front and back of the torso piece just looks better than the rest. He also comes with a cape, and his hairpiece is slightly darker, but I also really like his updated face printing. The lines on his face shows that he's a bit gaunt, and I like the second printing on his face that shows those dark rings around his eyes. It's a good way to show the evil transformation that happens to him in this scene. He's also a pretty rare minifig, coming in at around $25 on BrickLink. Now let's see our Mustafar Anakin from Anakin's Jedi Interceptor 9494. The body is the same as the previous guy, though this time he doesn't have a cape, and the thing that changes about him is the face. Now in the previous Anakin, the transformation went from regular eyes to those darker ringed circles, and the transformation with this guy is from the dark ringed circles to the glowing yellow eyes. And I think this was inspired from that very particular shot that you see in episode 3. It does look pretty creepy. Also not a cheap minifig. If you're buying him within the States, he's gonna cost you at least $10. Here is Anakin from 2013, and you'll notice right off the bat that the color of the body has changed a bit. The legs and arms are a lighter brown, and the torso piece is now darker brown. His robe printing is pretty intricate, and it goes onto the legs. He's also got quite a bit of detailing on the belt and a different hairpiece. I don't know if it's the greatest hairpiece to use for this scene, but they definitely could have done worse. He's got 2 expressions, one that has a mouth that's slightly upturned on one side with a raised eyebrow, and the other one that looks a bit disgruntled or confused. And this is the only Anakin that has a green lightsaber, and that's because he didn't have his when he was in the arena, and another Jedi tossed him a green lightsaber. He came in 2 sets, Republic Gunship 75021 and Anakin's custom Jedi Starfighter 75087. But Anakin only had the green saber in the Republic gunship set. A pretty good minifig, definitely a bit different from the rest. And here are the last two Anakins. They were both 2014 releases. Here's Anakin from Jedi Interceptor 75038, and the body is once again the same as the previous two Anakins, and our only update here is for the face. There's a very good detailed headset printing on both sides. One looks a bit concerned with a raised eyebrow, and the other one has a slight smirk, or maybe he looks relieved, I'm not really sure. And the last one here is a Clone Wars Anakin, and he came from Coruscant Police Gunship, set number 75046. The torso is different. It shares some of the same detailing as the torsos before, but only the robe folding detailing that goes around the belt. The detailing on the belt, however, is actually a bit similar to the one from a previous Clone Wars Anakin. So here there's a little bit of a combination of two previous designs, and then the upper part of the torso is its own unique original design. And to match him up with the original Clone Wars look, they gave him his lighter brown hairpiece. And here are all of the adult Anakins together, and out of the 15 minifigs we have, 9 of them have unique torso pieces. And that's a pretty good ratio. The Anakin figures definitely have a bit of variation. And here are all of the minifigures together. It's kind of interesting to see his character go from a young boy to an evil Sith in Lego form. Out of the few characters that are highly reproduced like this in Lego, I think we see a bit more detail and variation with him. And it's been a couple of years since we've seen a new version of this guy, and I hope he gets redesigned for a new set in the near future. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. We really do like making these collection videos for you guys, and if you have any ideas on what you want to see for another collection video, you can let us know in the comment section below. Other than that, if you enjoy our content, feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.